For this video, I'm going to use my truck, which is a 2010 Chevy Avalanche, and as usual, I'm going to make it a teaching event and ask you to use your critical thinking. So let's get started. Most of the time, the problem is first noticed like this. One of the turn signal indicators blinks fast, but the other side is normal. You check the front and you see that it lights up but blinks fast. Then the back, it doesn't light up or blink, but you can see in the side mirror it is blinking. And of course what we all do is beat on it and kind of hope that it works. Nope, darn it.
Easy fix. Right. It's got to be a burned out bulb.
Jumping to conclusions is where one decides something without having all the facts and reaches a wrong decision. Notice the clear bulb in the middle? Well, that's the backup light, so we just need to check the other two. All we have to do is check and see which bulb is burned out. So we take the housing off to gain access to the bulbs. So which one is bad? So here is your first critical thinking question. There are two bulbs in there. Are they both burned out? Yes, no, maybe? Honestly, either of those answers could be true, but they make you think, don't they? So let me rephrase the question. What is the likelihood that it is a bulb problem? Or could it be a circuit problem? The answer is in the diagram, and more on that later. So we take the bulb sockets out so we can test them, right? I'll leave the bulbs in place so I don't disturb the connections. And using the power probe, I have access to the contact points. I have system voltage in one of the bulbs, but nothing on the other side. Both bulbs are the same. Next critical thinking question. Is that normal? What does it tell you? Is it a bulb or a circuit problem? Again, the answer is in the diagram, so let's take a look. There's a lot of stuff in this diagram, but for this answer, we don't need the entire diagram, only this part. The bulb is right here, and the power comes from the BCM when it closes the switch. And the power probe confirms that. There should be a constant ground here as well, but according to the power probe, there is no ground. So what does it tell you? No, it is not normal. It tells me that it is a circuit problem. According to the diagram, if the bulb was burned out, it would not have continuity, and that would show up as power on one side and the other side with ground, indicating an open circuit. And again, it tells me that it is a circuit problem. But where is it? Remember I said that this was my truck? Well, at this point, I got interrupted and I had to go somewhere. So I stopped and I didn't do anything else, and I put it back together. And the blinkers still were not flashing. Then a few days later, I came back to work on it again, and I picked up right where I left off. Well, this is what I found. I went to test them again, and they suddenly came on, just as I was about to touch the bulb contacts.
So, what do you think?
Now what's up with that? At least I know the bulbs are good, right? And that's what I kind of suspected before. Well, remember, there was good continuity, so now I know it must be a circuit problem. But wait, they're not blinking. Oh yeah, this is the running lights. Let me turn the blinkers on. There they go. Next critical thinking question. What does this tell you? Well, let's go back to the diagram. It tells me that everything on the diagram is good, at least now it is. But remember, before there was no ground, so it is a ground circuit problem. So why do the bulbs work now when they had no ground before? And all I did was touch the bulb. Well, that's not all I did. Remember, I got interrupted and I drove the truck. So driving the truck had something to do with it. The circuit was affected somewhere else. Now the diagram shows a black wire into the connector, and that provides the ground. So where is that black wire? It's in the wire harness, and you can see that it runs down under the vehicle. Listen, you can hear the blinkers, and they're fast. Here's the connector down by the spare tire. Now I pulled it out so we can see it better, and I pulled the bulbs down so I can watch them while I work with this connector. Now you can hear the blinkers, and they're fast, and the bulbs are not working. As you can see, when I squeeze the connector, the lights come on, and you can hear the blinkers speed slow down. Well, let's work with this just a little bit. Now keep in mind, I'm laying on my back under the vehicle, and it's not easy to move around. And as I move the connector, the lights come on and off. Let's try and clean those connections. I better take it apart. That's not good. But again, this is the underside of the vehicle, so I would expect some dirt. Okay, this truck is over 10 years old, and the connector's been exposed to years of road grime, and it fails with simple movement. I'm not going to take the chance with trying to repair it. It's time to replace it. By the way, there's the black wire. You can see that this connector is part of the lighting harness, and replacing the entire harness is expensive, several $100s and hours of work. So the better choice is to replace the connector. And the OEM connector, if you can find it, is well over $100. So a better choice is to use an aftermarket universal connector like this one from Dorman. Both ends are in the package. On the right is the original I cut out, and the left is the replacement. Including the wire connectors, you can get all of this for under $50. Here it is when installed. Now, the most important critical thinking question. Are we done? What about the other side? Now, it never had a problem, did it? But hasn't the connector under this side been exposed to the same amount of road grime and corrosion? So, should we check that side? Now, the driver's side never had a problem, right? That's critical thinking question. No problem, no fault, right? Now keep in mind both the right and the left underside have been exposed to the same conditions, so we better check that connector as well. And when I took it apart, one of the pins was missing. Here's the matching connector. Notice the missing pin is stuck inside it. Now let's think about this. That side of the blinker never had a problem, and yet the pin in the connector was broken when we saw it. So how could that be? Sometimes our eyes don't tell us the whole story. That's why critical thinking is so important. Obviously the pin was making contact because the lights were working, but over the years that corrosion that was taking place on one side was actually taking place on both sides, but the driver's side, on that side, it had not completely caused a problem until I pulled the connector apart to check it. And that's when the pin actually separated and got stuck inside one of the connector ends. So there was continuity and the circuit worked until I changed all that. So fixing a problem is more than just making the problem go away. If you're going to do it right. When you have a problem, critical thinking will help you find the solution.